Ravens flock. The flock rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. So I'm telling you now, it's about to go down. The podcast, the flock rundown. Ravens, baby. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
Appreciate you, Ray. What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. The Baltimore Ravens have officially selected Nate Wiggins as their first-round pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. I love this pick. Obviously, we needed a lineman. We still need a lineman really bad, but the way that board fell, the best players available at 30 were definitely not offensive linemen. A ton of offensive linemen went. Pretty much every guy that was even talked about getting mocked to us in the first round was already gone by the time we were up at 30. But we had a ton of cornerbacks to pick from, a few wide receivers to pick from, and Eric DeCosta gets Nate Wiggins, and I understand it. I love the pick. We need young cornerback blood. Corner's also a need. It's not like we're neglecting a need and going somewhere else. We need a corner, and especially a young outside man-to-man potential shutdown corner, and that's what Nate Wiggins is.
Just my speed and my instincts, and my physicality, just being on that island. Just just being man on man. I feel like I'm the best man on man corner. I'm the best corner in the draft. So, yeah, it takes speak for itself.
He's 6'1", 6'2", runs a 4.28 40. This is the fastest player I think has ever put on a Ravens uniform. 4.28 makes him instantly the fastest player on our team. The knock on him is that he's got a pretty light frame. I know some reports had him at 173. I think that's like more what he was playing at in college, but by the Senior Bowl and by the workouts and stuff, he was around 180. I think he's floating around 180 right now. Eric DeCosta touched on the weight thing and said he doesn't think that he's going to have any problem putting on some weight, and he's only 20. You know, if you're older than 20, you know that it's easier to put on weight the older you get. So I think his body will fill out, and I don't think the weight's going to be a big issue. What I like more is that he plays like a dog. He plays like a Raven. He plays physical. So by putting on a little weight over the next few years, I think his body's really going to start to match that physicality that he already has mentally. I really think we got to steal getting Nate Wiggins at 30. Most mock drafts that I've done, that I've seen floating around, didn't have Nate Wiggins available at 30. And Eric DeCosta kind of touched on that in his press conference, and they just said, we didn't think he'd be there.
Very excited to draft Nate Wiggins, one of the, in my opinion, the best cover corner in the draft. Highly athletic, fantastic feet. Really, in our opinion, a guy that can grow into being a true shutdown type corner. Ecstatic that he fell to us.
And then Nate Wiggins in his interview said that the Ravens told him on the visit, if you are there, we're definitely taking you. And obviously that panned out. Glad we can add some young cornerback talent to that room because we didn't have a lot of depth. And last year with the Marlon Humphrey injury, we were really needing that depth. Thank God Brandon Stevens stepped up and became the player that he became last year because we needed that. But we were filling in with Ronald Darby and Arthur Mollett and, you know, just using all our depth pieces as much as possible because we were so thin. And we can't really afford to have a situation like that again. We can't afford to be that thin. And hopefully Marlon Humphrey stays healthy this year. Hopefully Brandon Stevens keeps his play up, and then Nate Wiggins can kind of come in with not a ton of pressure in year one. As the years go, he's going to replace Marlon Humphrey, you know. So I think that he's the perfect complement to them right now. He adds a ton of speed to our secondary, something that we really don't have with our other corners. I mean, like I said earlier, Nate Wiggins is the fastest player on the Baltimore Ravens now. So nobody's ran a 4.28 40 on this team ever. There's only a few corners in this entire draft that are going to really pan out to be, you know, CB1. And it seems like Nate Wiggins is definitely going to be one of those guys. Obviously, we got to see him hit the field and things like that. But just his tape from Clemson, his speed, his catch-up ability. If he even does make a mistake and is burned a little bit, he has so much speed that he can catch up to the receiver and still make a play on the ball. He already has a ton of confidence in himself. Just go watch any interview that this guy has done in the pre-draft or even the Ravens interview that he did last night. I mean, he's filled with confidence. I love this pick, man. I know I'm coming from a biased lens now that we have drafted. Everyone's going to kind of love their first round pick, no matter who your team is. But seriously, Nate Wiggins shouldn't have dropped to 30. It was just the way that the board went. There were so many quarterbacks taken and then a ton of offensive linemen sprinkled in, which we're not surprised by that. It seemed beforehand that there could be a lot of quarterbacks taken, a lot of offensive linemen taken. That's exactly how it played out. I did think that the Ravens would have some options at offensive line, but we really didn't. I mean, every option that we were even considering in the first round had already went before us. There were some receivers there. You could have taken Mitchell, but I think that they had Nate Wiggins so high on their board, probably was the number 2 cornerback on their board. I know Eric DeCosta said he was in the top 20. I can't imagine Nate Wiggins being behind anybody except for Quinyon Mitchell, and I would put him first, but Nate Wiggins is closely behind. I mean, they're both starting potential lockdown corners, guys that can cover any receiver on the field, and with speed like Nate, he's going to be able to cover any receiver on the field. Xavier Worthy just broke the record with the fastest 40, and Nate Wiggins is right behind him. 4.28 is insane. He's going to be able to run with any receiver in the league. We haven't had speed like that in the secondary. He also brings some instincts, too. He's jumped on quite a bit of routes. He's got a little, like, Marcus Peters type instincts. I was going to say Ed Reed, but I don't want to say that. I think someone from Clemson is quoted to say he has Ed Reed-like instincts, but I don't want to throw that comparison on him. That's unfair, and I got to see some pro tape first before I'm saying that. But Marcus Peters, I think, is a fair, just from an instinctual football mind of, like, reading the quarterback's eyes, jumping, breaking on the route, and then with the speed he has, he can just go a lot faster. I mean, Marcus Peters couldn't even sniff 4.28. So, I mean, this is a guy that has some instincts, but also has the ability to break on that ball fast, take it to the house often because nobody's going to catch him. So I'm definitely happy with the pick. Let me know what you guys think about the pick. Would you have went a different direction? Let me know who would you have taken and why if you wouldn't have taken Nate Wiggins. Second and third round will air tonight, and then the rest of the draft will be tomorrow. We definitely are going to need an offensive lineman. I would say tonight for sure. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. Hopefully they find a guy that they love. Hopefully the board falls that way. I feel like there'll be less tackles going just because there was such a run on them, but I could be wrong. Everyone needs an offensive lineman, and that's still my biggest concern moving forward. I know that there's alternative options. We don't necessarily have to get a starting right tackle in the draft. We can make a trade. There's still a couple free agents floating out there, so there's still other moves to be made if we don't get that starting right tackle or starting guard in this draft. But I really feel like they're going to draft an offensive lineman tonight in these earlier rounds, just to get a guy that has a chance to start at least. Because we still have 3 open holes on the offensive line: left guard, right tackle. I know we still got Voorhees in Cleveland and Macari and guys that could potentially fight and earn that spot. But you definitely want to draft some competition, You don't want to just go in with what you have. Excited to see how the rest of the draft plays out and who else we get. I'll hop back on here and make another video recapping the second and third rounds as well and talking about those guys in detail. So tune in for that. Appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Enjoy the draft, and I'll talk to you guys next time.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim there where the sense can't tame the untamed.